I am Brian English, forum name Hyperbytes, and we're moving on now to part 11 of the introduction to Wappler Extensions. And in this module we're going to have a look at drop lists. What I'm going to do is I'm going to modify our existing module, and I'm back in modules now. And in that module I'm going to actually add a drop down, and that drop down will specify the action of that module. And I'm going to give you the choice. You can either do x to the power of n, as we have previously done, but I'm also going to have an option where you can actually do the root rather than the exponential. And we're going to do that by adding a drop list and allowing the user to be able to select which of those actions are going to be selected. So we're going to move on to our HJSON. And I'm going to add down here. I just noticed, I noticed earlier, there's a couple of commas missing here. I don't know whether I've accidentally removed them while I've been doing pre-production tests or what, but just worth checking your source code just to make sure that they haven't been removed during the process. So I'm going to define a new component. I'm just actually going to first of all copy an entire one, or I'm going to do that. It's a heck of a lot quicker than typing it at all. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to module action. I'm going to change that to mod action. Title is going to be your module action, but we're not going to have a text entry here. We're actually going to specify a drop list. When we're dealing with a drop list, we've then got to add a values close in. So we say values, and then the values are going to be part of an array. So here we list our values. I'm actually going to just copy and paste those over from another screen so you don't have to watch me typing them in. So we got to the power of n, or the nth root of, are going to be the options in the drop list, and we're going to return a value of p for power of and r for root of. We don't need that. I'm going to remove the server bindings true for obvious reason. Help is going to be specify action. And we're going to save that. Okay, now I'm going to talk you through the quirks. We have in the past always dropped a default value into our input properties, and the logic would say default value p. That means that when we run this, it will select this as the initial value within your drop list, which it will do. But there is an aside of that, in that if it is a default value, it is assumed that value does not need to be passed to your function, or your module code, your JS. So if you specify default value, it will mean that if you select that first entry, actually nothing will be sent to your JS. It will be undefined, and you will then have to set your own default value. And you can do that very easily just by using parse optional and parsing it, and if there's no value there, you can select p. But the official way of doing that, shall we say, is instead of using default value, you would use initValue. So you're setting the initial value, and that will work because that will first of all select your element that you want within your drop list, but it will also cancel this side effect of using your default value. That value will then be set. So in this case, this will then send out, you'll show your drop list, and depending on what's selected, it will send a P or an R. How are we going to deal with that then within our JS? Well, actually before that, let's just fire up this module and just see what we have got. So if you just hold on a moment, I'm going to restart Wappler. Okay, so now I've restarted Wappler, and if we go into our module now, I'm just going to remove it and re-add it, just so we know exactly what's going on. There we are. We see we're going to just put an input data. We'll just take that from our set value stage as we have been. And you'll see that first value is shown. That's the P value. You can see now we have a drop down which shows the power of or the nth root. And if I hit the output on that and save, that's our module set up. So we now need just to have a look at our JS. In our JS side of things, I'm just going to remove those console logs from earlier. So in this case, we are going to want the result of that, or the content of that module data. So I'm going to say const my action equals options dot, just double check what I called it, options mod action. We could do that directly down here if we wanted, but I like to do things in stages when I'm teaching so people can understand what's going on. So there we are. So we're returning the action that is requested from our interface, and then instead of just returning a single value, what we're going to say is if my action is equal to power of, we'll try that again. If it's P, we're going to return exactly as we had before. We're only returning 3, so I don't need to test for the second condition. We know if it's not a P, it'll be an R, and for that we're going to return the root. I don't know whether you know, but you can use power of to get the root just by saying 1 over the exponent. So that all looks good to me. I'm going to save that. Let's now go into our module and let's just fire that up. There we are. See, we've started with a value of 4. We've gone to the power of, and we've got 16. If I do that power of 3, fire that up again, and we quite rightly see we've got 64. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that set value to 64, because we know what the answer of this should be. When we've done, I'm going to go into module. I'm going to now ask for the root of. We save that. Now if we fire this up, we should get the root of 64, which is, it's 4, but as we know, there's always going to be the danger of some rounding errors in relation to anything mathematical like this. So there we are. We've used our drop down. We've seen how to use it. We've discussed about default actions and init values. I'll just throw in, we could, just before we go, we could have very easily added a title in here of choose your action, let's say. Value nothing, and that would have allowed us to have that shown as a default value, and then we could have actually said set our default value like that, because we know that by setting the default value, that default value that we have selected here would not be sent, so that would never be sent. But there's always a possibility somebody would try to, which means that we'd have to check as a condition whether null had been sent, an empty string had been sent. So it's actually much easier to not to use the default value unless you have a specific reason for needing that. So that's basically all about our drop lists, how to use drop lists, an explanation of the quirks of it, and I think I'll end this module here. I want to show you how to use hide and show with a select, or a drop down I should say, on the grounds that it's important that the inputs that are shown are matched to the particular type of function that you are going to implement within your module. But I think we'll leave that as a separate module, so next module will be how to use your drop lists and hide and show inputs. So I hope to see you then.